committee meeting. We will go ahead and start off with a pretty short roll call since we only have a couple of attendees currently. If we do get any more, we will note those as they come in. So first we have Lynn Nelson,
Yes, here.
and I also see Deanna McMillan on the call. Deanna, are you there? Okay, well, maybe she's away. And Steve Clevenger joined us as well.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and start with the program. The first item would be approval of minutes from the previous meeting. So I would entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved. This is Lynn.
I'll second. This is Steve.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so we can go ahead and vote on those. I guess we'll take a roll call vote. So Lynn Nelson,
Yes.
Steve Clevenger,
Yes.
and Deanna McMillan.
I'm
Okay,
here.
not sure. Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry
we're
about
voting.
that. I couldn't get
Oh.
myself off mute.
No worries. No worries. It happens with these sorts of meetings. Okay. So we will consider the minutes approved then, and we'll go ahead and move into the first part of the program, which is the Transportation Improvement Program project lists. So I'm going to turn it over to our Senior Transportation Planner, Doug Pode. So Doug, you can go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you, Tim. Like to welcome everybody this evening to our meeting, and this is the first public meeting where we are rolling out information for a new transportation improvement program that we are starting to work on. And to kind of step back and give a little bit of background information in not only the current federal transportation legislation, but in previous ones, many previous ones, there has been a requirement that all projects that are going to be using federal gas tax funds, whether it be highway or transit, must be in a document called the Local Transportation Improvement Program, or Local or Transportation Improvement Program, excuse me. And as you know, us planners always like to use acronyms, so we call it the TIP. So that's if I refer to the TIP, this is where it's coming from. The Indiana Department of Transportation also has to put one together, and they are working on it as well. Now, no big surprise, since it's statewide, it's called the Statewide Transportation Improvement Program, or what, of course, planners refer to as the STIP. We have been working on this for a couple months now, and actually today is our official day where we roll out project information, so it's fairly exciting. Um, we asked back in October that the local engineers, towns, cities, including Lafayette, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, Battleground, Dayton, and Clarks Hill, if they would like to use our federal gas tax funds for road projects, that they submit that information to us. And the deadline for that was last Friday. And then if they have any large projects, they also include that information. And specifically, they do have, especially Lafayette and West Lafayette and the county do have large projects that they're only using local funds for. So we do include those projects. Now I'm going to go through and give a little bit more background information first. The time frame for this tip is federal fiscal year, or I'm sorry, state fiscal year 2026 through 2030. Now, this does follow a state fiscal year, which is kind of odd rather than calendar year or federal fiscal year. because the state fiscal year begins on July 1st. So we are actually in state fiscal year 2025 now. So this tip begins July 1st of next year. The other important piece of information that we have been given that is very important to us, especially looking at local projects, is that NDOT has directed us to program $6,541,470 to use each year in this tip document. That's the total amount of federal funds we can allocate to road projects per year. NDOT has another stipulation is that this amount of funds has to be used or obligated within that fiscal year. Otherwise, if we don't, we lose it. And we have been very successful in obligating all of our funds over the many years. Now, the main piece of this document, of course, is the projects. And tonight, we had a drum. I'd have it do a drum roll, but I'd like to start with our local projects. And this is, again, submitted by the cities, towns, and county. And you see on your screen, thanks for zooming in, are the projects proposed for the city of Lafayette. The first project is South 9th Street. As you can see, highlighted in bold are 4 different pieces. Phase 1, the Elliott Bridge reconstruction, sanitary sewer upgrades in Phase 2. This project is so large that it had to be broken into basically 2 phases to construct. The first phase is just north of Ortman Lane to Veterans Memorial Parkway. And phase 2 is from Brickingwood to north of Ortman Lane. Yeah, the anticipated year is the state fiscal year, which that phase is supposed to begin. And then under PH, that is a short for a phase. And this basically lays out the main phases for a project. CN is for construction. PE is for preliminary engineering, and RW is for right of way. Those are basically the 3 main categories or the 3 main components of a project. Now, South 9th Street, if you've been to these presentations in the past years, this project is ongoing. And as you can see, all of these phases in 2026 and 2027 are for construction. The city is finishing up the engineering and actually purchasing property right now, or the additional land needed for the project. So it has been moving forward for a while now. So between the 2 phases, they are looking to use roughly $8 million in federal funds. You will see two projects, the bridge reconstruction and sewer upgrades at 0 federal funds. Those will be paid for specifically with just local funds. Moving down to the emergency vehicle preemption project. This is a very interesting and neat project in that the engineers have decided that working with basically fire officials that if there is a need to, when fire trucks go to wherever they go to, that when they come to a traffic signal at certain points, their vehicles will signal the traffic signal approaching, and it will either hold the signal green longer or shorten the phase so they can actually get through on the green. They are actually looking to construct this project again, since it's so large, a part of it in 2026 and in 2027. Basically, the Wabash River is the split between the two. The good news is that it does include all signals that are controlled by the Indiana Department of Transportation, as well as the few in the county. So with this project, all signals within the county, except for, I think, the brand new one at State Road 52 and 28, will have this emergency vehicle preemption system added on. A project that the city is also looking at doing, McCarty Lane. This is a very interesting project. It was in the last tip, intersection improvements, including a roundabout. This is going to be funded all with local funds. The next project is a new project, South Street Safety Improvements, constructing multi-use paths, improve pedestrian crossings at all major intersections, improving the rail crossing, transit stops, curb gutter design, lighting, and because its cost is so much, it's broken into 3 phases. The first 2 phases are going to be done with just strictly city funds. And then phase 3 will be done, or the city is hoping to use federal funds for that. So, and this is basically that came from a project that we finished up fairly recent. That is the South Street road safety audit, where we looked at the whole entire corridor. And fortunately, the city is taking that study to the next step and actually doing projects. The next project, South 9th Street, is a new project, is Sioux Street to South Street. Sidewalk, curb reconstruction, traffic calming, trees, and lighting. Again, this is a new project. This is going to be, done with local funds. So for those who drive through the Sioux Street intersection, and it's now fairly rough bricks, and especially when you hit the concrete bar at each road. That's all going to be removed and reconstructed, so it's going to be smooth pavement. Going on to the next page. Those were all, of course, the ones that the city of Lafayette were doing. City of West Lafayette is a bit more ambitious. They have a pinch more projects. First project here is phase 4 of Cumberland Avenue, and this, of course, is from US 52 or Sagamore Parkway, however you want to look at it, 2.5 miles west of the Sagamore Parkway road reconstruction. The next projects, the first 2, or I should say, the first 3 listed, phase 1, and then the 2 for that, and phase 2 are moving forward. Phase 1 is a fairly substantial project. This basically goes from the intersection with the ramps of Sagamore Parkway just past Hamilton Street. This shows the reconstruction, urbanization. It will have a trail. And then also for for those who travel through this area, the intersection that is there with the ramps for Sagamore Parkway, this is going to be reconstructed as a roundabout. So you've heard it here first. Going on, phase 2 is the next step, going from Hamilton to Calbear Road. That is going to be, again, reconstructed and urbanization. And you notice it is such a large project that it had to be split in 2. Phase 3 is a new project. And this is taking that reconstruction and urbanization northward to basically a new county road, 425 North. And the city is going to be, or is requesting federal funds for preliminary engineering and for right of way. And as you can see, following that, there are a mixture of projects that the city is going to fund. Basically, reconstruct McCormick Road from Cherry Lane to Lindbergh Road, Wood Street, River Road to South Street. And this is a new one that's been in the conceptual stage for a while. County Road 425 North. This is from Salisbury to Soldiers Home Road. This is a new county road that goes east and west north of Calbear. And basically, as you drive in that area, that's a huge block going to 500 North. This new county road basically breaks that big block into 2 smaller blocks. So been in the planning and idea stage for quite a while, and now it's moving forward. Of course, the city is also wanting to reconstruct Northwestern Avenue from Wiggins to Cherry Lane. Cherry Lane, the next phase, west of McCormick to Northwestern. And then they have 3 additional ones that's on the radar. North River Road from Robinson to DeHart, Yeager Road, which is from Calbear to Cumberland Avenue, and then Salisbury at Navajo. Convert that to a roundabout. So basically, all of those projects are what the city of West Lafayette is anticipating. I'd like to point out the last 2 projects, Yeager Road and Salisbury. The city is also requesting federal funds for preliminary engineering. Now, going on to Tippecanoe County. They have a new project listed here. Actually, it's kind of in the previous tip, but this is kind of a bigger project now. As you know, around Harrison High School, the Battle School, and elementary school, it's a very rural road design. There's issues with the intersection of the 2 roads, and the county has been looking at this for a while of what to do with these 2 roads. A road safety audit was conducted for this area, and based on that and additional studies, the county has decided to reconstruct these roads, make it an urban, put a new traffic signal at the intersection, build trails, and this is to actually help because as you are fully aware that even though their subdivisions very close, students cannot walk to the 3 schools, and because there is a shortage of bus drivers, the county feels that it's important to construct these trails so that students can actually walk to the schools. What a interesting idea. So they basically, as you can see, there's 2 parts to this. Construction wise, it's a very expensive project, over, $16 million, almost $17 million. And the city is looking to use our what we call Group 2 funds. That's the funds we as the Area Plan Commission control. And they are also requesting what they call Group 4 funds. Those are funds meant to improve rural portions of roads, and NDOT controls that. So NDOT, I'm sorry, the county did submit an application for these funds. So we are hoping that they will receive these, and between our federal funding and that federal funding, we can move this project forward. The rest of the 3 projects shown here and on the next page are all bridge replacement projects. These are been in the tip for a while. Project Bridge 64, 65, which is Lily Road near what was the Lily plant. Bridge 80 and 83, basically out in the southwest part of the county. North 9th Street Road Bridge, that's the main one over the Wabash River. They're basically going to replace the entire deck. And I should note on this project that they are going to construct basically a narrow trail along the west side. And it's only going to be 8 feet wide. They would love to do 10 feet, but unfortunately, if they went the 2 additional feet, which doesn't sound much, that gets into a lot more dynamics for support, especially for the pier work. So they're only going to be 8 feet wide. And basically, this is part of a more long range project in terms of constructing a new pedestrian bicycle trail up North 9th Street, connecting it to the state park, and then also to Battleground. There's 5 additional projects that the county is looking to do in the future. A portion of County Road 150 West, 450 East, 900 East, 500 South, and 800 South. And then again, they also have some bridge projects they're wanting to do. The county does have specific cumulative bridge funds, and they are very good at tackling bridge projects that need addressed before they get into disrepair. I'd say, talking with others around the state, we're probably one of the better counties, which is good for them. So the tip also includes other projects that will be using federal funds. I mentioned earlier transit, city bus. Here you see funding for their operating assistance, which the amount that they will use to actually run the system, and then for also capital assistance, for things like replacing buses, whether it be the large ones, the paratransit access buses, for maintenance, because they, sometimes do have to replace the motors, transmissions, tires. Even though the tires last a long time, they do travel a lot of miles. So, and there's a lot of other capital projects, security cameras and whatnot. So, those are all rolled up into that. There's some other projects, one or actually two listed below. The first one is really exciting. And this is going to be a joint venture between City Bus, basically us, NDOT, and we're probably going to have the county and West Lafayette involved. Is that we are going to use our federal safety funds to basically construct improvements at the intersection of Paramount Drive and Sagamore Parkway. And this is really a really good project because, NDOT would like to do this, but, if they started now, which I'll get to allude to later, the earliest they could do it in is like 2029, 2030. We're starting the project early for them. So we're addressing just this portion because we only have, just under $600,000 in federal funds for this. And the next project, the Low No Admission Grant, this is pretty exciting. This is the second grant they received. This is actually to buy additional buses that are powered with hydrogen. Um, City Bus received funding last year, and they are in process of upgrading their refueling stations for hydrogen, and have ordered buses that run on hydrogen. They are the first and only transit system that will be using hydrogen to power buses. Now, right now it's fairly small, the number in terms of the number when they do implement this, but just like previous upgrades, they will be adding those, when the buses need replaced. So that's a summary of those city bus projects. Now we do have additional federal funds I want to point out to you. Wabash River Enhancement Corporation, REC, has received a substantial amount of federal funds to construct side pass trails, boardwalks, bridge, park ride, bus stops, and that's in the works. They are actually letting for construction, I think, this month, a couple small projects. And then the last federally funded projects I want to point out with this are Purdue University airport projects. This is what they have it planned capital wise for 26 through 30. So you can see, addressing taxiways, the lighting, and then at the bottom there, 2030 snow removal equipment. So in summary, that's the big projects, especially those that are going to be receiving our gas tax funds, between that time period. So I'm going to stop here for a quick, question time. So if you have any questions over this, please jump in, and I'll be more than glad to answer them. Okay. Well, I'll go on to the next one, and this is interesting. Um, so now, not only are local projects required to be in this, but also projects that the Indiana Department of Transportation will be doing. And this so far is going to be a very unusual tip in that basically we just have one project list, or in the past, I should say, we just have one project list for all of NDOT projects, but we have been directed by the central office in Indianapolis to only put a certain number of projects, these specifically in what we call the financially constrained list. So that what we're saying is that, or NDOT is telling us that these are the only projects that will receive federal funds available. Now, we do know that's not the case, that they do have other projects in the works, projects that they recently approved for funding. So, and to address those, we are creating or have created, that we'll get to in a minute. Oh, thank you for pulling that up. Non-financially constrained and information only. So between these two lists, you get a very complete picture of what NDOT or our state DOT will be doing in Tippecanoe County. So, going through the lists, going back to the other one, um, I mean, if you look at overall the projects, there's a lot of them that are basically addressing maintenance. We have two projects on State Road 26, one on State Road 28, one on 38, none on 43, 9 on 52, Sagamore Parkway, 12 on 65. And by the way, all of those are bridge overlay related. And then one at the Veterans Home, and then 29 of various different projects. So, um, I'm only going to touch on a few of those. So if you want to take a look at a later time, because a lot of these are not surprises. Like, for example, the first one, 26 at 900 East. This is improving the traffic signal there, improving the intersection. This has been in the works for a while now. Not a big surprise. Going down a little bit further, replace the superstructure US 52 over the Gaylord branch. This has been in the works for quite a while. The one below that, auxiliary lanes. This year, if you've driven 52 heading south out from Lafayette, you notice that at various intersections, they added left turn lanes and right turn lanes. They're going to continue that with additional other intersections. And then the one under that on 52, the small structure replacement at a whopping $3.56 million. Going to the next page, I'm going to just touch on projects 10 through 13. And this is a combination of basically projects targeting what we call Special 52, yes, 52 or Sagamore Parkway within West Lafayette. And this is basically between Cumberland Avenue and Soldiers Home Road. NDOT is proposing to do a lot of improvements in this area, mainly addressing safety. Some people are not going to like this because their proposal, when they start rolling this information out, is that along the main corridor between basically just east of Nighthawk to just west of Jaeger, basically you're not going to be allowed to make left-hand turns from any of the driveways or from any of the intersections. They are proposing to construct what we call Michigan lefts, in that if you want to go, say, for example, you're heading north on Salisbury and want to go left and on Sagamore Parkway, you need to first make a right, make a big U-turn, and then go back through the intersection, and then you'll be heading west. So that's their proposal. I don't know when they exactly start rolling this information out. They're also going to add missing sidewalks to what's out there. Kind of interesting. What we've heard, or at least I've heard, is that the sidewalks out there, they're going to leave, but just add where the sidewalks are missing. But the big change is going to be at the kind of interchange there at Northwestern. Can you picture that bridge is going to be removed? And then that's going to be a very unique intersection with Northwestern intersecting Sagamore Parkway. So very interesting design, something that's not kind of done in this area. So it will work. It'll move traffic fairly good, but it's rather intersection. So you've heard that here first. We did, I think, mention this briefly previously, but anyway, that's a big project coming up. So um, going on, looking at all of the other projects, really, of course, I've already mentioned the interstate. Mostly they're just focused on, bridge maintenance. The other ones, there's a lot of various projects. And those basically it makes sense because like you're dealing with ITS program, so you want to get a contract for either the district or for statewide. So that makes very sense. They have the helpers program, so that's a statewide contract. There's a lot of and sometime if you'd like to go through, you're more than welcome to go through this. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to follow up and answer those if you wanted to reach out at some point later on. So anyway, basically that's in a nutshell what INDOT, at least the Indianapolis office, is saying that they can financially swing. So knowing that they have more projects in the pipeline that they're actually working on, as I mentioned, they have this uh, non-financially constrained list. This has a lot of important projects as well. It does have some drainage. I shouldn't say drainage. It does have drainage projects, but maintenance projects. It also includes some fairly new ones, like you see Project 4 there, just speaking up. These are traffic signal modernizations, and you see the 3 signals that they're targeting. The one project that I'm fairly excited about, number 6, it doesn't seem really too exciting, but this project has been one that we have been pushing or asking for quite a while, and the district actually been working with us and our local government agencies. And this is basically where they're going to add sidewalks along Sagamore Parkway in West Lafayette. Now, this is out around the Paramount, Meyer, Menards area, because right now that whole corridor is not pedestrian friendly. There's a lot of Purdue students there. There are a lot of people riding the bus. So, um, they did ask for the funds, and we did hear about a month ago that it was supposed to be funded. But of course, central office is saying no, it's not. So we wanted to specifically point it out. It's a good project, so that's why we put it in this list. Going on, you'll see a lot more maintenance projects. The very last page, project 15. This is a pretty whopping big project. You know that we have electric vehicle charging stations throughout the state. And this project is going to add a lot more. Specifically in our area, they're targeting additional infrastructure, different charging stations at one location. And if you've been out at Meyer, Tesla has built a charging station there. This project is going to increase the size of that, putting more stations. And the last project is kind of a head scratcher. We don't know why this project keeps moving back, but it's a safety project at basically 2 railroad crossings, one at 550 South and Wabash Avenue. And, this was supposed to be funded several years ago, but they keep moving the construction date back further and further and further. And now, unfortunately, it's been moved back to 2031. So, disappointingly, I'd like to go see it done now because it is a safety project. But unfortunately, that's the target date for construction now. So with that, I'll take a quick stop here. And if you have any questions on state projects, please jump in and let me know.
Hey, Doug,
Yes,
with the
Steve.
removal of the Northwestern Bridge, will that help alleviate some of the crossover traffic on Special 30 or 52 there? You got people coming over the bridge, often wanting to get over into the right lane, and people on Sagamore Parkway there wanting to get over into the left lane. You've got a lot of conflict there.
Um, I think it will to some extent. I don't think it's going to completely eliminate it because it's rather interesting. It's going to be, of course, a T intersection. And if you're heading, out west and, you know, away, basically heading west or north in that northwest or whatever you want to call that, um,
Mm-hmm.
you will not have to stop. You can just keep going. Now, if you're coming from Northwestern and you make a left-hand turn and head north, there'll basically be a merge area right there at the intersection and going northward. So they're hoping that this will fix some of those issues. Unfortunately, southbound traffic or, traffic heading east towards, the heart of Sagamore Parkway, those are going to be stop controlled. Um, and there's going to be just a traffic signal there for that traffic and traffic for Northwestern. So, um, that will then let traffic go and make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn onto Sagamore Parkway. And then, of course, if you're coming south or east or however you want to look at it, on Sagamore Parkway, then you will be able to then make a right-hand turn and then continue. So that's going to be stop controlled. So, only those two movements basically are going to be stop controlled. So the hope is that it will alleviate some of the some of the issues emerging, but in terms of total, I don't see that happening.
At one time they were considering kind of a roundabout with some bypass, so that's out.
Yeah, so far I don't see that happening on the NDOT side now. How West Lafayette's going to address the improvements that they're looking at for that small section of Cumberland. I have not heard any word of changing that to a roundabout and looking at the proposed construction cost. I don't see that in the picture. But
I
at
was
this
talking
point,
about it at the bridge replacement up by the bridge.
oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. That was an alternative and an option that was looked at, but they decided NDOT, and I don't know who decided this, decided to go with this what they call a green T intersection. That's what that design is called instead of doing a roundabout. So
And I know that you've got the Cumberland project that you just said you're not sure what all that entails. I'm assuming it's going to be widening, and at least in some areas, so you've got 4 lanes completely
hmm
through.
hmm hmm
Any plans on putting like a second turn lane off of 52 turning west onto Cumberland? Because that backs up, especially at times when students are returning to the campus, and at other times that lane actually backs up into um, the left lane, with the left through lane.
Right.
And
Yeah. I
so
mean, you're right. It does. I mean, it's pretty significant.
and it
Um,
happens more than just when students are returning. I
hmm
mean,
hmm
and as more development occurs out west, more people are going to be taking Cumberland,
Yep.
and
hmm I
so
think
that's
that's
something that probably needs to be looked at.
I think that is going to be looked at because I remember in the discussion between the NDOT project and West Lafayette that when I was overhearing conversations that that issue did rear its head, and I'm not sure who's going to be addressing that, whether it be NDOT or whether it be the city when they do their project. But I know that listening from the different, conversations I've been in or have overheard that that is going to be looked at.
Sounds good.
Great. Any others?
I don't know if
Okay.
this is related or not. Can you hear me, Doug?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. I don't know if this is related or not, but I'm seeing out of, in other states, the changing of the turn light to a blinking yellow light. Is any of that planned throughout Lafayette or Greater Lafayette area? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, matter of fact, there are some that are already that way,
Mm-hmm.
and I am assuming eventually that I think you see them now only on uh, or traffic signals that are controlled by NDOT.
Okay.
Um, I would not. I would be very surprised if the cities and county did not move towards that, but in doing so, that does cost money to convert it that way. So at this point, nothing that they have shown, whether it be West Lafayette or Lafayette,
Mhm.
has shown any requesting funds, federal funds to do that. So, um, you know,
I
the
just gotta
projects like,
wonder if there's any studies going to, the benefit, because that really helps traffic flow, but if abused, it really
hmm
could cause more accidents. So I was just curious as to those, blinking yellow lights in the turn lanes,
hmm hmm
if that helps or hurts with the increased volume of traffic in those busy areas.
Personally, I have not seen any studies and how
Mhm.
they relate. I think it does help. I mean, when you do see the flashing yellow, um, but I would not be surprised because usually when NDOT does something, then the cities and the county follow suits eventually.
Mhm.
I think on on this level compared to in the tip, we're looking at the big projects. But
Mhm.
in terms of small projects like that, yeah, it'll probably cost, say for example, if West Lafayette did it, maybe 100,000.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that's not a lot in comparison to what I would think it costs in big cities, but yeah,
right.
it'll be
You're
interesting if there's any studies or information about it, because it's a lot cheaper to have the blinking lights than the roundabouts.
hmm I think Tim
Mhm.
actually put something on or up that people can look at. I saw it but didn't read it, so um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's something from Federal Highway that they did. It is, a little bit of a long read perhaps, but
Mhm.
since you asked, I thought I'd go ahead and drop it in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll take a
mhm.
look right now. Appreciate it.
Question, Doug, about the Sagamore Parkway and the Michigan lefts. Are they then planning
Mhm.
on removing, especially between Jaeger and Salisbury, a number of the um, current left turns that you're able to go through into businesses? So you'd have to
Ye-
go up to, I'm assuming it'd be a signalized U-turn,
Yes, I mean, you will not be able to do any left turns out of driveways. I mean, there are going
or
to
even
be
even
other.
I guess
Go
even
ahead.
off of Sagamore Parkway, like to get into Payless, if you're heading east.
Correct. Yes. No left turns. Period. They are going to be, from what we've seen of the proposed design, they are going to have, the two big ones are going to be, basically near Nighthawk and Jaeger. But in between, they're going to have smaller ones. So regular vehicles, passenger cars, passenger trucks, small trucks will be able to make those. If it's a large truck, you have to go all the way to the end. But, the big issue is, and, not only for crashes, but also for congestion, are the left
I
turns. So,
I can see some visibility issues, as
hmm
well, making U-turns
yeah.
if they're not if they're not signalized. So I'm assuming that they're going to be the U-turns are going to be signalized.
Yes. hmm So, big change to that. Now, is it really interesting? My youngest son lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we visited him over the Thanksgiving holiday. I'll tell you, those Michigan lefts were everywhere. And even in corridors, what they're doing exactly what this is proposed. And to be honest,
Usually,
they work.
yeah, I was going to say
Go,
usually there's a little bit more space between the traveling lanes to do that.
y-
Unless
right.
you're widening Sagamore Parkway in order to add more median space to do
Well, what they're
that.
going to
But
do is where the left turns are, when you make a left turn, they're going to actually notch out the area
hmm
on the other side, so there's plenty of room to actually make the U-turns.
okay,
So, does that make sense?
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it works out.
Mhm,
I find it very narrow there to have effective
mhm.
Michigan west for the
Yeah,
amount of
it's an
traffic
interesting
that's there.
design.
Yeah, because I think you also have a lot of traffic patterns where you've got north heading west off
Mhm,
of Salisbury that is it's actually going to, I can see it drastically increasing the flow of traffic
mhm.
on Sagamore Parkway or
R-
actually probably what's going to happen is you're going to end up with issues at I don't remember the name of the road, but that first light north
mhm,
of Sagamore Parkway on Salisbury that allows you to turn into Payless there. You're going to see a lot of left-hand traffic there.
mhm, mhm.
Not just people turning onto Sagamore Parkway, but turning onto at those first intersections.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, Tim posted some additional information. If you want to look at that, so thanks for
Okay.
doing that, Tim.
Thank you.
Quite welcome. Any additional questions or comments on regarding state NDOT projects? Okay, I'll just finish this up here, kind of give you an outlook from. So now that we have, the project lists from, not only the local side but also NDOT side. The next step, we are going to be looking at these projects. We're going to be conducting red flag investigation, looking at issues, environmental issues. We're going to be looking at doing a complete street review. So the projects that local federal funding is being requested meet our complete street policy, environmental justice review, ADA review. We'll be doing all of those plus coming up in January, specifically on the 15th. This is going to happen at our technical transportation committee meeting, which meets at 2 o'clock, and it is in person. We are going to be actually sitting down at the meeting and discussing which projects will receive our federal funds and make the decision, basically decision recommendation at that time. So that's a key critical date coming up in mid-January. Following that, February 28th is our timeline, our deadline for us to submit the draft document to NDOT for their review, and then also for Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration review. So as you can see, we are now kind of a third of the way through December. So we have the rest of December, January, and February to completely put this document together. So it's a very tight timeline and will require a lot of staff time just focusing on getting this thing done. We are planning on having the official public meeting on March 12th. That is a conjunction with the CPC meeting in March. And then our goal is to have it completely finished and adopted by our policy board on May 8th. And then the final day, that next day, we can submit it to NDOT. So looking forward, that's our critical timeline. And because it's so short, this is not driven by us. It's actually driven by NDOT. They're basically requiring us to hit these key critical times, especially submitting the draft. And it's been like this for a few years, or a few tips. Um, so that's what we're going to be busy with in the next few months, is putting this document together. So, and again, I want to open the floor for any comments or questions. And then, thank everyone for listening. Hopefully, I didn't put all of you to sleep. And if you do have any comments or questions, or kind of in the next day or two, kind of scratching your head going, what did Doug say? Please feel free to email or call. I'll be more than glad to answer any of your questions. So, again, anything else like to add or comment or have questions on?
I've got something that's not on not on the tip, but
Mm-hmm.
just a question about actually about the speed limit as you go down the hill on Sagamore Parkway.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Yes.
it's 55, and then it goes
Yes.
down to 45, where
Mm-hmm.
you've got the curb and the path, and then it goes back up to 50. Nobody is
Yes.
slowing down to 40.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you're going downhill. You're still going downhill, or and leveling off, and then finally heading up. That rather than slowing it all the way down to 45, just slow it down to 50 and just keep it on 50 all the way through. I'm not sure if there's a law that requires, because you've got that curb and that path, or what it is that requires that you lower that speed limit all the way to 45, because nobody's going to go down all the way down to 45 unless you've got a cop car parked there 24/7.
Right. Yeah. Well, you sort of answered your question, Steve, is that yeah, before the trail was constructed, it was all, 50, 55.
It's
And
55 up almost Duncan Road.
yeah. Well, the reason why, and you mentioned this, is that when they constructed the trail, because they only had a limited amount of right of way outside of the road, actual physical road to work with. And in addition to that, they had, from what I recall, a substantial uh, elevation change. Right after you
Hmm.
got out of the right of way, it just dropped off, significant drop off. So, in order to construct the trail where it's at right now, um, one thing that was limited was because it's right up next to the road on a curb, they had to lower the speed limit to 45 miles an hour. So you're right. If
I
at
mean,
the
coming
end of the
down that
month,
hill, nobody's going to slow down that 45.
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you probably have some people who actually do see the signage, but that's the
yeah.
reason why it was changed from the higher speed limit to the lower speed limit.
I figured that was the case, but it seems kind of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it doesn't. I don't. It doesn't seem. No, I mean, since nobody's traveling that speed, is it really doing anything
Mm-hmm.
except causing issues with people slamming on their brakes and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one, Steve. We'll probably watch for crashes there.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Arya. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone who's listening in on this and appreciate you letting me present the new information for the next transportation improvement program. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Doug. So like Doug said, we do have a pretty tight timeline on this, and Doug definitely puts in a lot of time being the lead staff person who works on this. So hopefully that's reflected in the final document when we get that rolled out. You guys can all see that. But yeah, he definitely spends a lot of time working on this. He does a great job. We're almost always either the first or the second MPO in the state that gets our tip submitted and approved. So I think that really speaks positively of his good work. So with that, we do have additional space for the questions, comments, and suggestions portion of the meeting. We will wait a minute or so to kind of see if we get any additional comments online. So Aria, if you can go ahead and kind of track that. And in the meantime, while she's working on that, there was one thing that we wanted to bring up that's not on the agenda that we're not going to necessarily make a decision on tonight, but we wanted to let you know that it's something we're thinking about. Um, so this committee used to meet in person, and we have since shifted it to a virtual meeting. And because of that, we are wondering if 6 o'clock is still the best time for this. People don't necessarily have to come to a certain location. They just have to find a device to log on virtually. So we're wondering if it might be more beneficial to move this up a little bit, maybe look at 5:30, or some other time. So that's something that we'd like to consider for the future. See if that would be something that's a little better for people's schedules. So we'll discuss that formally at a future meeting, and any change that would be made, we would have to, take a vote on and document and whatnot. But I wanted just to let everyone know that it is something we're thinking about as things have kind of changed for this committee over the years. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. And in the meantime, I'm not quite sure if I filled exactly our minute of waiting for comments yet. We might be a little short. So I'll go ahead and let Aria let me know whenever we've hit that time. Okay, so it looks like we do not have any additional comments. So therefore, we can go ahead and move on to adjournment. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, so well, I think I heard Lynn first, so we'll go ahead and have her be the motion, and then Steve, you can second if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn
So,
doesn't require a second.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't think we'll have too many complaints about that. Yes.
I object. Just kidding. Have a great holiday, everyone.
Yes, thank
You
you. So it
too.
sounds
Yes.
like without
too.
any objections, we are adjourned. And everyone have happy holidays, and we will see you on March 12th for more information about the tip.
All right.
Thanks for
you
the great
all.
presentation.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great job. Bye-bye.